Welcome to the Brown Girl Rising podcast. I'm your host, Urvashi, and I'm so happy to have you here. We are here to celebrate you and incredible, inspirational women of colour from around the world. Women who are breaking down cultural barriers, who are smashing through glass ceilings, and women who have experienced trauma and challenges and risen from these challenges. I'm so excited, so let's dive in. Good morning, Brown Girl. How are you today? It is the 21st of July, and this is your host, Urvashi. I've decided to come on and do a very random, sporadic podcast today, actually. So there's lots going on. But one of the big things that have happened this week is something that came to my attention, that it's South Asian Heritage Month. So this month goes from July the 18th to August the 17th, and it is here to celebrate and recognise the diverse cultures and histories and contributions that us South Asian people have, given and contributed to the UK, and I think it's beautiful. But thinking back, when I was growing up, honestly, this didn't exist. And I remember growing up having to navigate my dual identity, and most of the time wanting to be more anglicised than say I was. So going to school, I'd want to roll up my skirt, and wear shorter skirts or tighter tops, etc., to be more anglicised. But at the weekends, there'd be, events and weddings where I was the Desi version of me, and it was like I had to navigate these dual cultures. At school, I'd eat sandwiches and crisps at lunchtime. And at home, it'd be rotli, shak, or roti and sabji for those Punjabi sisters out there. We would eat the desi or the South Asian food. And I remember wanting to make sure that my clothes wouldn't smell when I went to school. And so I would air them out by the window every night, because I'd been into families' homes, or you could smell that oil that had been used over and over again on people's clothing, right? And so things like that were embarrassing to me. My heritage at some point was embarrassing as a child growing up, and I think that's down to, I guess, the colonization of our South Asian countries, right, by the British rule. And when the British came, things like yoga weren't allowed anymore because they were seen as weird, witchy practices. We were told that Christianity was the faith that we had to follow. And, a lot of India is now Christian. A lot of other South Asian countries are, have some Christian heritage in them. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that, it was one of the reasons that a community of people in South Asia had been colonized and were then taught to live in a different fashion, which was more British, more anglicized, and our diverse cultures kind of got diluted as we were invited to come to the UK and create quote unquote better lives in the UK. And one thing I'm thankful for now as a 42-year-old woman is the fact that our parents, as much as they had to come to this country as, young children, in the kind of 70s, I think that's when my parents came across, and had to fit into this new white British anglicised way of life in terms of going to school, college, work. Pubs were a new thing for us, Racism was incredibly crazy at that point. They had to deal with all of that yet they managed to keep their communities alive. And there's this one program on BBC called Back in Time for Birmingham, where they take one, I think, Pakistani family back to the 50s and take them through the 5 decades of how life changed as people were coming into this country. And it's such an interesting watch. And I remember watching it and being so emotional, because in the 50s, when like your grandfathers or your fathers came over, or whenever it was, you know, they came over as men and men only. They left their women behind. And I think that's where this whole sending money back to the motherland comes from, right? To look after the family. And I know some people still do it today. And then in the 60s and 70s, the wives and the daughters started coming over. And it's just incredible to see how we adapted. And back in the day, like when the men came over on their own, they used to live in like bedsits. Like 3 or 4 men would live in one place and go out to work and share this space. And that's where like masala beans came from, right? They used to try and cook and eat as cheap as possible so they could send the money home to the people that they loved. And masala beans came from that kind of an era. And it's just interesting to see that when we came into this country and the women started coming in, then we started having the daughters and we started creating communities, and our communities were our family. Not beyond, but our family. So you would have people come in and you'd have like potluck parties. And now I'm going back to my childhood now in the 90s, where my dad lived in, or when I was born, my dad lived with his brothers and their wives and their kids, plus also my grandma, in a 3-bedroom house, tiny little thing in Leicester, which was a terrace house. And it was incredible, but it wasn't great all the time, right? Families split up sometimes because of that and lose that community. But my dad was lucky because, and we were lucky because my dad had this beautiful group of college friends. There was five boys who have some incredible stories about, you know, getting locked up in Blackpool after a weekend trip there to the beach, and, you know, walking up Ben Nevis. I mean, my dad's walked up Ben Nevis and I didn't even know about that. And I've walked up Snowdon and now I'm like, I can't do Ben Nevis. I'm too old for that. But, you know, the man's done it. Losing cars. Like, I think their story was they walked up Ben Nevis and they couldn't find their car. And, you know, he had this beautiful group of like male friends, like their own brotherhood. And as they all got married and had children, they kept that connection alive. And I remember going to what we call my kakas and kakis now, because, you know, they're my dad's brothers, technically, homes. As we were growing up, having the best parties, Diwalis, Christmas, Navratri, you know, all these like Holi, all these events, we'd go to people's houses and the mums would bring dishes. Like, that's what it was. Everybody would bring dishes and they became known as potluck parties, right? And we'd go with our potluck, whatever you would bring. But actually they started organising what they wanted to bring as well. And they'd go to these potluck parties and we'd all just literally eat and drink and be merry. And it was at one of these potluck parties at the age of 13 I had my first taste of alcohol. And, you know, it was a safe environment. And so as much as I had this, I also wanted my anglicised life. But I'm so thankful for my parents and, you know, their family and their friends for keeping that alive. Because the British patriarchy and the society that we've come into has meant that instead of living in these beautiful communities and these big homes where all the family lived together around a courtyard back in like the homeland, we would be here and we'd create our own families, right? So the mother and the father became the matriarch and the patriarch of the family and their kids, right? And they would have their own home. So eventually everyone in that 3-bedroom terrace house in Leicester bought their own places and we all kind of segregated ourselves and we all became these independent silos. And you'd see them maybe once or twice or 3 times a year. And nowadays it literally is that. You see them at weddings or birthdays, and literally that's it. I do not have like communication with a lot of my cousins, which is really sad. So, I'm really thankful that South Asian Heritage Month is a thing. And it's so beautiful to see that finally, I think it's been going on for 3 years now, but finally that we are celebrating us. We're celebrating everything, our diverse cultures, from Afghanistan to Pakistan to Bangladesh to India to all those South Asian countries, to Iran, all those South Asian countries, including Sri Lanka, Nepal, Maldives. And we're celebrating us as a heritage, as tradition, as people with roots that are rich in colour, in art, in film, in music, in science. And one of the things that has happened, just before UK South Asian Heritage Month is on the 14th of July, India launched Chandrayaan-3, which was a moon expedition. And it will be, if it lands, one of the first aircraft to land on the south pole of the moon, which is mad, the coldest side of the moon. And it's due to land pretty much at the end of UK South Heritage Asian Month, or UK Asian Heritage Month, and it's just incredible that at the same time as the UK is celebrating this one thing, our South Asian homeland counterparts are launching this mental scientific experiment, launching this rocket that goes into space. And right now, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it is orbiting the Earth. And each circle it does of the Earth, it gets wider and wider and wider. And eventually it's going to go in a straight line and land on the South Pole. It's amazing. So look, guys, this month celebrates and fosters the understanding, appreciation and celebration of South Asian cultural diversity in the UK, and what we bring to the social, economic and artistic fabric of this country. And it's also a platform to address issues that we faced, right? And a platform to address things like promoting the inclusivity and cohesion of our cultures. One thing, I remember, one thing is like, Britain, for a lot of us, is our homeland. We've been born here. But if they took our passports away, would we survive going back to the motherland? Just a question I've got out there. I don't know, because I know that when we go to India, we're foreigners, like we're Ferengi. We are proper foreigners. And when we're in the UK, yes, we're British born, we're bred. This is our heritage. This is our roots as well. But it's not. It's just a land we live on, right? And I don't know what you think about this. And I would love to know what you think about this. And, one of the things that I want to bring to the Brown Girl Rising community is sisterhood. And so, bringing that community together, enabling us to rise together, having that place of empowerment, connection and sacred healing. And, because there is a lot to heal as brown girls in our community. Our parents are born in this colonial times. Our grandparents were not, but our parents are born in a time of colonialism, and we are the result of those parents, and we have a lot of healing to do for them and their lineage as well as for us. And the only way we can do that is by keeping our communities, our culture, our art, our science, our sisterhood alive. And I'm so thankful for South Asian Heritage Month for coming at this time. And as I said, bringing those communities together, this sisterhood back together, to stop the fighting, to stop this whole pitting women against each other, the comparison, the competition that we faced from our colonial parents. I was compared to, as much as I look back with so much joy and love and happiness at that, community that my mum and my dad had created through his college friends, I got compared to some of the children that were born at the same time. I got compared because I wasn't as clever. I didn't know maths as well. I had potential. I was too talkative. I was too loud. I got compared that I was too big. And that is work that I need to heal on, and I have been healing on, and I want to heal with you. And one thing I just want to invite you guys to is I am holding the first ever Brown Girl Rising Sacred Sister Circle on the 10th of September 2023 in Marlow at the Wellness Barn. And I am so freaking excited to bring you together. This Sacred Sister Circle is all about you. It's all about South Asian women coming together, South Asian women leaning into our feminine energy away from this masculine, because, before colonialism, we were so feminine. Even our masculine counterparts, they had this beautiful energy of being connected and nourishing each other. Families were a big thing. Come into that colonial life and we get separated. Patriarchy becomes the dominant thing, and it's all about work, and it's all about women becoming independent. And yes, we still are independent, but we want to come together. We want to connect. We want to support. We want to nurture ourselves. We want to nurture each other. We want to share experiences and grow. We are going into a new paradigm, and darlings, I want to take you with me. So join me on the 10th of September, right? We do not want to be independent of our sisters anymore, and that meaningful connection is everything. But along the way, we want to heal. We don't want this, how do I explain it? That front staging and that back staging, like you go to a wedding and everyone, oh my God, I saw my sister, I saw my brother, I saw everyone, my family. I'm talking about our parents, like, they used to love going to these events, but as they went away from these events, and I remember going on the journeys home, it'd be like, oh, my sister did this, my brother did this, I don't, why did they not do this, and why did they not kind of include me in this, that, and the other? I don't want that anymore. Let's get rid of that veil. Let's stop competing and let's come together. So I invite you to the very first Brown Girl Rising Sacred Sister Circle on the 10th of September from 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock at the Wellness Barn in Marlow. And this is my personal invitation to you. And it's your chance to join an intimate gathering of women who are coming together to connect, support, and empower each other in a safe space. And on the day, there will be mindful movement. There will be grounding. There will be meditation and connection to Mama Earth and your breath. There will be dance and joy practices. I will be bringing all, and I say all, my oracle cards for you guys to pull and read and connect to your bodies and your souls, as well as connect to other sisters. And it's a chance to celebrate you. Share whatever's in your mind. Connect with each other without judgment. Get some help. Get some advice. And my goal is for you to leave feeling calm, honoured in your body, safe, happy, blissful, and for you to leave feeling so light, with connections that maybe you wouldn't have got beforehand. So guys, if you are interested in joining the Sacred Sister Circle, head to either browngirl.rising on Instagram and go to the link in the bio. Head to the Brown Girl Rising Facebook group, and it's in there as an event. You've also got my website, which is a beta website, so you can head there. It's unlimitedurvashi.podia, PODIA.com. And you can find all the details of the Sacred Sister Circle in the show links below. Already, some of the spaces is gone. So guys, there are a few spaces left. I would love you to join me. It is the 10th of September. Make time for yourself. Make time for you to empower yourself, be part of a sister squad, embody your feminine energy, and honestly, rise together. So guys, I'm Urvashi. As I said, you can find me across all the socials. I'm on Threads as well, but I'm not saying much on there right now. But it is Unlimited Urvashi across all the socials. browngirl.rising across Instagram and Facebook. And the beta website is unlimitedurvashi.podia, podia.com. You can find all the events, including this sister circle, including the Thailand retreat next year. We still do have one space remaining, and including the networking event this September on the Jurassic Coast. And of course, I am available for you to have your one-to-one Path to Purpose free calls with me, and also work with me should you want to and wish to rise and live your soul's purpose and live in a state of joy, love and happiness every single day. You can work with me one-to-one on my life coaching Dharma and spiritual life coaching program as well. So guys, thank you so much for giving me the time and your energy to listen to this beautiful podcast, and I will see you on the next one.